All right. So I created this chart here. I want to share with you what I found. So I used this website, bitinfocharts.com, to fill out all this data. I thought this would be interesting and fun, and it was. Now, just to show you what I have, I went through each company. I also used this website here, Crypto Compare, to get some of the data. Market cap, I used Crypto Compare to get the market cap, and this was yesterday. I'm rounding a little bit, but market cap in thousands. So, Ethereum here, 27. This is actually 27 billion. This is Doge, 129 million. I left off the last three zeros. I took the number of transactions per day, again in thousands. So Doge 18, that would be 18,000. Then, and of course, if you look at the graphs, I mean, if we look at Ethereum here, it's all over the place. How many transactions? So, for this one, I took 500. I tried to take the most recent, right? So I did 550. Okay, look at me being very optimistic. But it's been rising and it's up around 550, and I like Ethereum. Okay, so so I said 550. So some of these are somewhat rounded. I'm trying to take the most recent level of transactions. But again, this is not an exact science, but doing my best here. Transaction growth, I tried to look, in a year. So here's Ethereum for a year. So this one wasn't too hard. Okay, it's around 500. And look at this, it goes up to 500. So that's a 10x growth. And I'll tell you what, I'm actually going to change this to 500 just to be a little more conservative. So that's how I came up with the growth. Some of them it's not as easy. That like this Ethereum one, it was kind of easy, right? 500 to 500. Let me just pick another one. That wasn't easy. I don't remember. Let's look at just Ethereum Classic for fun. So what did it start at? Is it 10? It looks like around, so I probably would have said 10 to where are we at? Looks like around 30, looks like now they're at 35. So 10 to 35 would be 350%. Let's see what I did. Ethereum Classic. Okay, so I said it was 40. I guess I was being on maybe. So I was trying to take the latest, probably top number. So I said that they were at 40,000. And the growth, I had 400%. So I said 10 to 40, which is a 400% growth. So some of these numbers, okay, it's not exact. And because this whole thing is sort of like, well, what is all of this? I mean, what I'm trying to do here is come up with a valuation based on transactions. And so anyways, well, let me continue with what I have here. Market cap. So this here I divided the market cap by the number of transactions. So that, in a sense, is telling you what you're paying per transaction. Now, that's not transaction fees. I'm saying as an investor, when you buy a coin, you're buying, if you buy Doge coin, you're paying $7,000 per every 1,000 transactions that the coin is currently doing. That's the valuation. If that doesn't make sense, then this is all not for you. I can't explain it, but basically, this, you can see the formula here, okay, for this thing and that. And to me, this was sort of this is the main thing I wanted to look at. So what is the least expensive now? And before we get into the analysis here, I mean, I can just say here, Doge has the least expensive. But one point that this is not pointing out is what is the value of the transactions, right? Doge is known for tipping and low value items. So you would expect that to have a lower value, and the price reflects that. And what was interesting, I'm jumping ahead here. I wanted to do analysis after I explain, but I'm going to mention, because this was really kind of cool. This chart also has value, average transaction value, okay? So we can look at Doge, and we can look at Ethereum. average transaction value. And you can see that Doge is almost, depending on which day you go, it's about 7 times higher. If you look up in the upper left here, it gives it away up here, right? So for over here, it's 7 times higher. And then on my little chart, lo and behold, Ethereum's price per transaction actually is about 7 times higher than Doge. So Ethereum's transactions, according to that graph, are 7 times more valuable each transaction than Doge's transactions, and the market cap is valuing, the coins at 7 times more. So, but for a lot of these, I feel like although the value in the long run, what is the value of the transaction, will become a very important question as we have different applications and different companies doing different things on the blockchain. Right now, most of what goes on is just people trading coins, right? Bitcoin is just pure, it's just trading coins. Most of these are just coins, just trading. Ethereum gets into what's the value because they're trying to run companies. Doge is focusing on tips. So that's where some of the value of the coin comes into play. But I think for a lot of these, you can just sort of assume the value is just right now. These things are just a store of value, at today, even though the long-term thing of Ethereum is not just as a store of value. It's a utility. So, anyway, so I ranked these in order of, in a sense, the lower price here. You want to see the lower price, the better the deal, you would think, all things being equal. That means you're paying less for the number of transactions. But do never forget growth, because a cheap, in the stock market, we know, Ford, if you look at it, is very inexpensive. But people are like, well, it's never going to grow. Tesla is very expensive, but they think it's going to grow 60% a year, some huge number. Growth wins, especially in the long run. So, so that matters. So Doge being cheap, but it's growing much slower than some. I mean, all of these growth rates are amazing as far as just transactions. I mean, in most industries, growth of 100% a year is fabulous. Here 300 is the loser, right? So, except for Bitcoin, of course. I mean, Bitcoin, all of its numbers are the worst, but it's the best performing, crypto. So that's great. All right. I hope you guys like this video here, because I don't know, it's kind of a long thing here, but I'm just going to go through it all. Now, the other thing was important here. I read a book called Crypto Assets. I recommend it. This book called Crypto Assets. I should shut off that light in the back. Oh, whatever. Okay. Very good book, just came out about how to value crypto assets. One thing they talked about is, liquidity, trading pairs. By that, I mean, if you go here, if I go to Bitcoin, I can see, okay, all the different currencies it can be converted into. There are many. And that adds value to your coin. How many different currencies can it convert into, be it cryptocurrencies or fiat. But obviously, fiat is important. So I also looked at, can they convert into the four? I'm assuming the four biggest are US, Euro, China, and Japan. Probably not China. Maybe Korea should be in there. And also, the results were not terribly exciting. Most of them, if it has 4, they converted into all of them. Several did not convert into yen. I don't know if any of that matters. This is not my favorite column here. I don't know if it's the most valuable. And then this one here, I actually want to move this over because this one's kind of cool. I did at the time. Sorry, I'm doing my formatting now live on film here, but how long it takes in seconds, and this also was interesting. So let's go through what we found. Okay, I talked about Doge a little bit. It is the least expensive per transaction, but it is famous for having low value transactions. Then again, it's very inexpensive. It's still growing at 300%. I was surprised with this. When I finished this, I was like, maybe I should be buying Doge. And Ethereum at the DevCon, Vitalik Buterin came up wearing a Doge T-shirt, and they were talking about how Doge now can be traded on the Ethereum platform, or so there's some sort of connection with Doge and Ethereum. I'm not sure what that was about. So I don't know. Doge looks pretty good here, but it's got the typical slow as heck. 150 seconds to 2.5 minutes is sort of the favorite time for these things to take to close, which is too slow for, as far as I'm concerned. If something wants to be a transaction, use it for spending, it has to be seconds. So Dash is slow, but they have Insta Spend where it takes just a couple seconds. So, anyways, I'm not going to overanalyze whether this means we should buy or not, but I'm just showing you the data, and you can extend your research from there. Ethereum Classic came out inexpensive, but let me give a couple caveats on this. And I want to talk about Ethereum Classic for a minute too, because a lot of people asked me, or some people asked me for my opinion on it. So first of all, my opinion on forks, and especially Ethereum Classic, is imagine you have a company, you're running a business, and you have 30, let's say you have 30 developers or 30 main people running, building this company. You have 30 people, and 3 of them say, we're gone, we're leaving, we're going to start our own company. Now, so first of all, of those 3 leave, if they were starting some sort of niche or complementary or something interesting, building on what the main company does, okay, that would be interesting. But they say, no, we're leaving and we're going to do the same thing you're doing. But now it's just the 3 of us versus now the remaining 27 on the other team. Who would you bet on? And in the case of Ethereum Classic, you say, well, why are you leaving? Well, there was a theft, and you guys did stuff to reverse the theft, and we don't like the principle of that. We don't want to. That's the foundation of this new company. It's insane. I don't understand why anyone would buy Ethereum Classic. And you look here, and their speed block time, 14 seconds, looks good. But if you look at this chart, we're looking at Ethereum. We're looking at block time, and let's go back a year. Once Ethereum hit, and I looked on the other, on transactions. Once transactions went over 100,000 per day, this is when this shit started happening, right? And then they had this big hard fork. So when you look at Ethereum Classic, you're like, oh, cool. In fact, let's pull it up here. Ethereum Classic, you're like, oh, it's fast. See? But Ethereum Classic only has 40,000 transactions a day, not 500. Once they hit 100, they're going to wish they had the team that they left to do the upgrades and forks they need to do, but they don't believe in forks. I don't know. I think Ethereum Classic, I find it silly. Okay. Next, Zcash, very small, only 6,000 transactions a day, showing the sort of the slow 300% growth rate. Price not bad per transaction. Time the regular slow. Trading pairs 18. So I don't know. It's a small. And so let me say this, because my theme that I often fall into is all roads lead to Ethereum. No matter what research I do, it always says we'll just buy Ethereum. So look at the winners here, okay? So first of all, to me, Ethereum, you get the highest growth rate, you've got the most transactions, trading pairs, other than Bitcoin, you have the most, and the price, reasonable. Who beats it? Ethereum Classic, which I just explained is silly. Doge beats it, but sorry I didn't do the research before the video. There's some interoperability between Doge and Ethereum, and I explained why this isn't that amazing that they're beating Ethereum. And then Zcash, Ethereum now adopted, is working with Zcash. They're trying to adopt all the awesome privacy functions in Zcash are becoming available in Ethereum. So all the top five options point me to Ethereum. And those are the top five in this, I'm sorry, top four. So again, all roads point to Ethereum. Now let's continue on. Litecoin. So first, just going through the numbers, 23,000 transactions per day. Again, compared to Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's not much, but compared to everybody else, like everybody else is pretty small, 23. So it's slightly bigger. They have a nice growth rate of 500%. The price per transaction, you know, in the middle of the pack here. They get the usual slow speed, decent amount of trading pairs. So Litecoin, I mean, is not horrible. My problem with Litecoin, the reason I don't buy Litecoin is I don't get it. What's the story? Like, I need to see a roadmap that is exciting. They have a roadmap that is like, okay, there's a road and they're on it and the car works. Okay. But that's not exciting enough for me. You know, Ethereum, the roadmap is, you know, oh, let's go on about the whole story. You know, Dash. Now, Dash, we'll get to it in a minute. I don't know. These aren't the greatest numbers here, but if you, the roadmap is exciting, you know, like what they're trying to do and accomplish, you know. And another one, Stellar. I'll get down to these two because these don't fit on that other graph. But you know, Stellar roadmaps that are exciting. What's the Litecoin roadmap? It's like, okay, we're a coin. I don't know. What is the story? I don't get the story. If there's a story, and with any of these things I'm talking about, if you find out something that I'm saying that's wrong or I'm missing something, let me know. I'm sure I'm missing many things. I'm definitely missing the excitement behind Litecoin. I don't get it. And I went to their website looking for a roadmap. I don't see one. You know, are they going to make block time go down to 5 seconds? That would be cool. Okay, that would be interesting. I don't see that. So I don't get it. I don't think it's the worst. It's not bad. I don't see it going to zero in this market. I mean, you know, it's a coin that works. It's nice, but I don't know. I when I look at Litecoin, I get sleepy. Okay, Monero. So here, only 4,500 transactions a day. The growth rate, sleepy 300%. The market cap price. Now we're getting into market cap price. I mean, it's not just, oh, this is, you know, the sixth in line. I mean, look at the difference here from Ethereum. 5 times, what the heck is that? I don't know, whatever. 5 times Monero, you're paying about 5 times more per transaction when you invest in Monero. And again, I'm not talking about transaction fees. I'm talking about the amount, the market cap, the price of the coin as an investor to own the coin. And if you are valuing that coin purely on transactions, Monero, the transactions that you get per day are 5 times more. You're paying 5 times more as an investor. I hope people can understand what I'm talking about. Trading pairs here, 14. It's on the lower end. So I look at this and with Monero, I get very sleepy. I don't care. Looks boring. Dash, you know, I got very excited. I love the Dash story. And this is honestly one of my weaknesses in investing in the history because I used to be all about the story. Stories are great and they're important, but if you don't have the numbers to back it up, or you're buying at the wrong price, the story doesn't matter for shit. And I'm worried that I'm a little too into the Dash story because the numbers right now, look at it, it's very expensive. The growth rate was good this year. Okay, 600%. They went from 1,000 per day to 6,000. But 6,000 is very low. They need to maintain this growth rate. It hasn't moved since February when they had their last upgrade. Where's the next upgrade? We're going to have to see something exciting from Dash soon, or this thing is going to could start to look scary, to be honest with you. If they don't launch and they don't grow, if this number doesn't go to like 30,000 transactions a day, you know, within, I don't know how much time we give them here, 5 months, it could start to look ugly. And Dash I liked. I have a little bit. I'm holding it. I'm waiting to see things look better. But on this chart, you know, low transactions per day, fabulous growth rate. I'll give them that. It's expensive per transaction, but with the growth rate, you can pay more. So, okay, I don't, you know, slow, but they have insta spend. 20 trading pairs. So it's not bad. I got some Dash, but I don't know. They're on the bottom of the list. Bitcoin, okay, Bitcoin, transactions, not Ethereum, but way above everybody else. Growth last year, I mean, Bitcoin has not been growing a number of transactions. So, I don't know. That to me is a concern, but Bitcoin is its own animal. It's like it's its own, and Bitcoin is just Bitcoin. It's like for so many people, it's all they know. It's the front door. It's the gateway drug. You almost have to give it. I mean, I don't even know. The Bitcoin, like I said in my portfolio, own 10 to 15% of your portfolio should be in Bitcoin, and try not to look at it, because when you look at it, you want to sell it. And the wrong move has always been to sell it. So I don't know. To me, it looks like this thing's going to shoot over 10,000, and I'm going to want to sell it so bad. I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm going to be dying to sell it at 10,000. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then speed, it is the slow. Well, other than Bitcoin Cash, I can't wait to talk about Bitcoin Cash because I hate it so much that it's just funny. So slow as molasses, no plan to get any faster, but it trades trading pairs, even blowing away Ethereum. 63 trading pairs. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Okay. Next is Bitcoin Cash. Now, again, it's almost like the Ethereum Classic story. I don't get it. And I've been wrong. And please, if you know why I should be liking Bitcoin Cash, tell me, because I don't get it at all. So again, with the story of forking, imagine you have a company and 10% of the people leave, and it's not the best people on the team leaving. They leave, and they're like, well, what are you going to do? So in this case, they say, what are you going to do? Well, their thing was the bigger block size. Okay, 8 megabit block size. They don't use. They have like 200 megabit per day. Let's look at this. Where's block size? Block size. And okay. So, they can barely, what is this? Let's say here, 108K is the size of their block size. So they left Bitcoin, the king, in order to have bigger block size, for which they're like using 3% of the block size. So if that was the premise is stupid. Okay, so now what you have with Bitcoin Cash is a small, 15 a day, it's not the smallest, but 15,000 a day. There's no growth yet because it's only been around, but it hasn't been growing. Let's look at it here. Again, talk about going to sleep. Boring. And then your price per transaction, if you're valuing on transaction, it's way more expensive than Bitcoin, which is considered the most expensive. It's also the slowest. It is twice as slow as Bitcoin. Why on earth would anybody own Bitcoin Cash? And the price has been up, the price going through the roof. Let's just look at it, because I don't know if it's funny or sad. Or is this just evidence that I'm fucking clueless? What am I missing here? I don't get it. Who is buying and why? And I've heard people explain it. I never hear when people explain why Bitcoin Cash, does well. I never understand it. Look at 351. In fact, and what's also funny, I did a video talking about how it's going to crash through 300, and it's going to be, it's ready, the bottom's ready to fall out. What did we hit here? I think I made the video right around here. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be exciting. And once it falls through 300, and then boy, oh boy, it took off from 300. It doubled up 100%. And I'm like, I don't get it at all. Zero. Bitcoin Cash, the slowest, most expensive coin which forked based on a stupid premise. May even be more stupid than the Ethereum Classic premise, although we can debate about which is stupider, but at least Bitcoin Cash is much more expensive. So there you go. Now, Ripple and Stellar, I wanted to do this for, but you can't really get data. They are not on this chart. I can't get them from here. Now, Stellar, you can get info here. I know that they do have their block time is only 4 or 5 seconds. That I know. Their transactions, it's hard to see, and I don't know if we're comparing apples to apples here, and it's very hard to read in this. I don't know, but I did throw it in the chart for fun. 5,000 transactions a day with their market cap puts them at 91. Block time, is fast, only convertible into 4 currencies here. I mean, Ripple's got some room to grow if exchanges ever start picking it up, which I would think would happen. I mean, I think that deal with IBM has really been sort of overlooked by a lot of people, unless, again, I'm missing. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't know how this deal with IBM and Hyperledger all working together is not huge. So anyways, and then Ripple, on the other hand, has another. I can't get transactions if you go to Ripple's website. So I found something here. You go to Ripple's website. It says they're doing, and this is not Ripple's website. This is someone talking about it on Reddit. I'll put this link in because Ripple's website shows, and this is older, like 1 million transactions a day. I'm like, there's no way. And then, but this guy explains, someone explains here about this, that every time, oh shoot, where is the, here it is. Keep in mind that only a small percentage of transactions are actual transactions. Around 90-95% are offer create and offer cancel transactions. 90% of those are bot generated by market makers. It's free to do stuff. And I mean, so anyways, I don't know. What are Ripple's transactions? According to Ripple, it's 1 million a day, which would make them amazing. And then, so then I was like, well, I don't know. And then, well, let's just assume it's 10%. Assume it's 100,000 a day. How's their price? It's this. So I don't know. I don't know that any of this is like, well, absolutely buy or not buy based on it. I just thought it was an interesting way to go through and look at several different coins. And I think that's all I got for you. So again, let me know your thoughts on this, and of course, like I said, if I'm missing something. All right. Thank you.